For millions of older Americans, that first sip of coffee isn't just a habit. It's a ritual, a quiet promise that today will be steady, awake, familiar. But here's the part no one tells you. After 60, the same caffeine habits you've trusted for decades could now be silently clouding your memory. In fact, a study from Johns Hopkins found that excessive or poorly timed caffeine intake in seniors can reduce cerebral blood flow by up to 27%, directly impacting focus and recall. In this video, you'll uncover 5 morning caffeine mistakes that could be quietly aging your brain and how to reset the habit without giving up what you love. Your keys. A name. The word you were just about to say. If your thoughts feel slower lately, or your memory slips more often than it used to, it's easy to blame age. But for many older Americans, the real issue may not be age at all. It may be something far more ordinary: your morning coffee routine. After 60, our bodies process caffeine more slowly. At the same time, brain tissue becomes more sensitive to changes in hydration, cortisol, and nutrient availability, all of which caffeine directly affects. When taken at the wrong time, coffee can spike cortisol, interrupt nutrient absorption, and leave your brain overstimulated but undernourished. In fact, a 2023 report from the National Institute on Aging found that seniors who consumed caffeine before eating had 32% lower vitamin B12 levels, a key nutrient for memory and mood balance. But don't worry, we're not here to take your coffee away. We'll show you how to keep what you love and enjoy it in a way that supports your brain, not strains it. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, this might be a good moment. Just tap that little button and turn on the bell. That way you'll never miss a gentle health tip made with you in mind. And if something here speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and let me know how I can do better. I truly want to hear what you think. 5 morning caffeine habits that are hurting your brain. Fast and how to reset them with science-backed tips. Habit 1: drinking coffee before hydrating. George is 71. Every morning before he even opens the blinds or checks the news, he heads to the kitchen, grabs his favorite mug, and pours a hot cup of black coffee. It's a ritual, one he's followed for nearly 40 years. The smell, the warmth, the quiet. For many older Americans like George, that first sip feels like home, a small comfort in a fast-changing world. Coffee isn't just a drink, it's a companion. It's what gets us going, helps us feel steady, helps the day begin on familiar terms. But here's what George didn't know: by the time he takes that first sip, his brain is already running on empty, not of caffeine but of hydration. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, the body naturally wakes up slightly dehydrated. The brain, made up of more than 70% water, depends on overnight fluid balance to stay sharp, focused, and alert. As we get older, that balance becomes even more delicate. According to the National Institute on Aging, older adults often experience a reduced thirst response, meaning we don't always feel thirsty, even when our bodies need water. And that's where things get tricky. While George believes he's helping his body wake up, what's really happening is that he's nudging it further into imbalance. Coffee, especially black coffee taken first thing, is a mild diuretic. It tells the kidneys to release more fluid, which might not sound like a big deal. But without water beforehand, the body has nothing to draw from. Instead of rehydrating the brain, the caffeine pulls water away, and the brain, already slightly dried out from the night before, starts its day without the one thing it needs most. The result: slower recall, a foggy head, occasional lightheadedness, that feeling of staring at a word you know but just can't say. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients found that even mild dehydration in adults over 60 can reduce cognitive performance by up to 14%, especially during morning hours when the brain is shifting from sleep to activity. Another report from the University of Connecticut noted that older adults are more vulnerable to dehydration-related fatigue, confusion, and concentration problems, and those effects are often mistaken for just getting older. George had no idea. Like many Americans in his generation, he grew up believing coffee was the ultimate morning fix. And in many ways it is, but only when your body's ready for it. That's the key. Thankfully, the fix is simple and takes less than 5 minutes. Just drink a full glass of water as soon as you wake up. Not cold, not fancy, just plain water at room temperature, about 8 to 12 ounces. No need for lemon, no need for Himalayan salt or fancy minerals. Just water. This small act helps rehydrate the brain, stabilizes blood pressure, and boosts circulation, preparing your body to actually use the caffeine more efficiently when it does arrive. Think of water as the welcome mat and coffee as the guest. And for those who take medications or morning supplements like blood pressure pills, thyroid meds, or vitamins, this habit becomes even more important. Dehydration can reduce absorption, and some medications can increase fluid loss too. Starting the day with water helps your body handle all of it more gently, more effectively. George didn't change his whole life. He just started placing a glass of water beside the coffee maker each night, a simple visual cue. He didn't skip coffee, didn't overhaul his diet, but after a few days he noticed fewer head rushes when standing up, a clearer mind while reading the paper, and by the second week he felt more awake before that first sip, just a little more grounded, more present. It wasn't a miracle, it was a message from his body finally being heard. So before you pour your next cup, pause, pour a glass of water. Your brain is waiting, even when you hydrate. What you mix with your coffee could quietly change how your brain works next. Habit 2. Adding artificial creamers or sweeteners. Lila is 69 and for her morning coffee is a quiet joy. She doesn't drink it black, she likes a splash of vanilla creamer, sugar-free of course. It feels like a smarter choice. The label says 0 sugar, and the taste still brings comfort. For many older Americans, switching to artificial creamers and sweeteners felt like the healthy thing to do. We were told for years, cut the sugar, cut the calories, so we did. We swapped real sugar for saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame. We stopped using whole milk and started using fat-free, guilt-free everything. But what no one explained is what these artificial ingredients might be doing to the brain. In people over 60, the body reacts differently to sugar substitutes. A 2021 study from the Journal of Neuroscience found that sweeteners like sucralose and aspartame can disrupt the brain's response to insulin. And when that response weakens, the brain gets confused. It struggles to regulate energy. Memory becomes less stable. You might feel awake after your coffee but not clear. That foggy feeling. It might not be the caffeine. It might be what's hiding in the cup. Artificial sweeteners don't just trick the tongue. They also trick the gut. Research from Yale shows they can alter the gut-brain axis, triggering inflammation and metabolic stress. For older adults whose systems are more sensitive to these shifts, the result can be a rise in mental fatigue, the kind that makes reading harder, thinking slower, and multitasking nearly impossible. It's subtle, but it adds up. You find yourself rereading the same paragraph, pausing mid-sentence, forgetting why you walked into the room. And here's the twist, the brain is especially vulnerable in the morning. Cortisol is naturally high. The nervous system is still waking up, and any confusion caused by artificial ingredients can amplify that fog. Lila had no idea. She just wanted her coffee to feel comforting without being bad. But over time, that innocent splash of sweetened cream was leaving her more tired by noon, not less. She remembered when fat-free first became popular. The shelves were suddenly full of low-cal yogurts, margarine instead of butter, and flavor packets that promised health in bold letters. And like many Americans in the 1980s and 90s, she believed the labels. It wasn't her fault. The messaging was everywhere, even from doctors. But now, decades later, she was facing a new reality. The very things she thought were helping might be holding her brain back. The fix. It's gentler than you might expect. Swap out the artificial creamer for something simpler, full-fat milk, oat milk, or even just a teaspoon of real cream. These options support healthy fat metabolism and don't interfere with insulin signaling the way sweeteners can. And if you still crave a touch of sweetness, try a half teaspoon of raw honey or a sprinkle of cinnamon. Both offer flavor and, in cinnamon's case, even a mild cognitive benefit. You don't have to give up your favorite cup. You just need to stop dressing it up in a disguise. Lila made the change gradually. At first, she missed the flavored creamers. The taste felt bland, but she stayed with it. Within a week, her thoughts began to flow more smoothly. She didn't lose track of conversations as easily, and that nagging midday slump, the one that made her nap longer than she meant to, began to fade. She hadn't given up her coffee. She had simply made it kinder to her brain. For many seniors, coffee isn't just a beverage. It's a symbol of comfort, of routine, of independence. The goal isn't to take that away. It's to make sure what's in the cup is working with your body, not against it. Sometimes the problem isn't the caffeine, it's the company it keeps. And even without additives, what you pair with coffee can make a huge difference, especially if your stomach is still empty. Habit 3. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Harold is 73, and for most of his adult life, he started the day with a simple routine. Wake up, wash up, pour a strong cup of black coffee, and get moving. No toast, no eggs, just the coffee. It wakes me up, he says, and I've never been much of a breakfast person. For Harold and for many older Americans, black coffee has long been seen as a clean, efficient way to kickstart the morning. It's 0 calories, it keeps the mind alert, and it fits into a day that's already full of things to do. Breakfast can wait. Coffee, though, that's non-negotiable. But what Harold didn't realize was that his decades-old habit, that empty stomach coffee routine, may have been working against him in ways he couldn't see. Because while coffee can bring a sense of clarity and energy when taken without food, especially after 60, it can quietly stress the brain. You see, when you drink coffee on an empty stomach, it spikes your cortisol, the body's stress hormone. Cortisol isn't all bad. We need it to wake up and feel alert. But when it surges too high, especially without the buffer of food, it can tip your system into imbalance. The result, you feel wired but not sharp, awake but not steady. Many seniors describe it as a jittery kind of fog where you're moving but not quite thinking clearly. A 2020 study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who consumed caffeine before breakfast had higher cortisol levels throughout the morning, paired with lower performance on memory and attention tasks. And because cortisol also interferes with insulin sensitivity, the brain gets less efficient at using glucose, its main fuel. That means more forgetfulness, more scattered thoughts, and more fatigue later in the day. Harold began noticing it in small ways. He'd forget names during conversations. He'd walk into a room and pause, trying to remember why. He blamed it on aging. What else could it be? But the more he paid attention, the more he realized it was worse. On days he skipped breakfast completely. And he wasn't alone. Skipping breakfast is more common among older Americans than you might think. For some, it's a leftover habit from years of dieting. For others, it's simply a loss of appetite in the morning. But as we age, the brain becomes more sensitive to nutritional timing. It needs amino acids from protein to make neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. It needs slow-burning carbs to stabilize blood sugar. And when it doesn't get those building blocks, caffeine alone can push the system into imbalance. Thankfully, the fix is simple and doesn't require a full sit-down breakfast. You don't need eggs and sausage and pancakes. Even a slice of whole-grain toast with nut butter, a banana, or a small bowl of oats can make a difference. These small foods help slow down caffeine absorption, support neurotransmitter production, and give the brain what it needs to stay steady, not just awake. Harold didn't give up his coffee. He simply added something small before it. At first, he kept a banana on the counter next to the coffee pot. Just one bite before that first sip. A week later, he noticed a change. Fewer jitters, less mental noise. And by the second week, his recall improved, especially in the morning. He didn't feel young again, but he felt more present. And that mattered. Caffeine isn't the enemy. But timing is everything. The older brain doesn't bounce back as quickly from nutritional stress. It needs a little more care and a little more fuel to start the day strong. If coffee is your engine, breakfast is your oil. You need both to go far without breaking down. So before you reach for that first sip, ask yourself, what else have I given my brain today? Even just a few bites can shift everything. And if you think vitamins will cancel it out, think again. Timing matters more than you think. Habit 4. Taking supplements right after coffee. Linda is 66, and she starts every morning the same way. She sits by the window with her cup of coffee, a gentle breeze coming through the blinds, and swallows her daily supplements, B12, vitamin D, and a multivitamin for women over 60. It's a ritual she feels good about. Responsible, grown up. Like many older Americans, Linda takes her vitamins seriously. She's read the articles, seen the labels, and listened to her doctor's advice. After all, supplements are supposed to help, not harm. And taking them early feels like a good head start on the day. But here's what Linda didn't know. Pairing her supplements with that first cup of coffee may actually be blunting their benefits. Because while vitamins and minerals are essential for brain health, memory, and energy, they also rely on proper absorption. And caffeine can quietly get in the way. Coffee, especially when consumed on an empty stomach, increases stomach acid and speeds up gastrointestinal movement. That might sound harmless, even helpful. But for nutrients like vitamin B12, magnesium, iron, and vitamin D, absorption depends on a more gradual digestive process. When things move too fast or the environment inside the stomach becomes too acidic or unstable, those precious nutrients pass through the system without being fully absorbed. The body tries to catch what it can, but much of it is lost. A study published by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2019 found that older adults who consumed caffeine within 30 minutes of taking oral supplements showed significantly lower serum levels of key vitamins, particularly B12 and iron, over time. The result? More fatigue, slower thinking, and ironically, the very symptoms those supplements were supposed to help improve. Linda had started noticing this too. Despite taking her vitamins daily, she still felt foggy by mid-morning. Her energy dipped after lunch. And no matter how consistent she was, her blood work kept showing mild B12 deficiency. Her doctor considered increasing the dosage, but never thought to ask about her coffee routine. And that's part of the problem. In American health culture, we often focus on what we take, not how or when we take it. But for older adults, the timing of supplements can be just as important as the supplements themselves. The fix. Surprisingly simple. Wait at least 45 to 60 minutes after your morning coffee before taking any vitamins or minerals. Or, better yet, take them with a light breakfast, something with healthy fat or protein to help your body absorb nutrients more efficiently. Even something as small as a slice of whole grain toast with almond butter or yogurt with a few berries can create the right environment for your supplements to do their job. Linda made this change slowly. At first, it felt strange not to take her pills right away, but she started setting a reminder on her phone 45 minutes after that first cup and took her supplements then. She also began eating a little something with them, even if just half a banana, and within 2 weeks she noticed a difference. Her energy didn't crash after lunch. Her mind felt sharper during her afternoon crossword. Her next blood test showed improved B12 levels without changing her dosage. It's not that the supplements didn't work. It's that they weren't getting the chance to. For many seniors, this habit is deeply ingrained. You wake up, make coffee, take your pills all in one smooth motion. It feels organized, efficient, almost comforting. But efficiency isn't the same as effectiveness. And when it comes to brain health, energy, and aging well, giving your body time to absorb what it needs is one of the kindest things you can do. So next time you reach for that bottle of vitamins with your coffee, pause. Let the coffee settle first. Give your body space to receive. You haven't wasted the habit, you've just made it wiser. But the final habit, it's the one that feels the most harmless yet slowly adds up over the years. Habit 5. Sipping coffee. All morning long. June is 68 and she loves her coffee. Not just a cup, but a flow. From 7 a.m. until nearly 11, she keeps her favorite ceramic mug within reach. A few sips while folding laundry, a warm refill during the news, a little more while answering emails. For her, coffee isn't just a drink, it's company, a rhythm, a signal to the body and mind that she's still engaged, still moving, still awake. This habit didn't start all at once. It began after retirement. With fewer morning meetings and more quiet time, the morning stretched longer, and so did the coffee. June isn't alone. In fact, among older Americans, this slow sipping routine has become incredibly common. It feels gentle, controlled, and compared to the energy drinks of younger generations, it seems almost harmless. But here's the thing, even small doses of caffeine when stretched over hours can quietly overwork the brain's stress system. Unlike a single cup that spikes and drops, constant sipping keeps cortisol elevated, the stress hormone that should naturally decline as the day goes on. And for older adults whose cortisol balance is already more fragile, this extended stimulation can interfere with memory, focus, and most importantly, sleep. A 2021 report from the Sleep Research Society found that seniors who consumed caffeine beyond 9:30 a.m. were more likely to experience fragmented sleep, reduced deep sleep, and increased daytime fatigue, creating a vicious cycle. Tired in the morning, drink more coffee, struggle at night, repeat. The brain never fully powers down. It stays on alert like a light dimmed but never switched off. June hadn't noticed it at first. She thought her restlessness at night was just part of aging, that tossing and turning at 2 a.m. She blamed it on hormones or a noisy street. But once she looked closer, she realized something. On days she sipped coffee later into the morning, her nights were worse. She'd wake groggy, feel foggy until noon, and find herself craving even more caffeine just to get going again. And so the cycle continued. The fix. It's simple, and doesn't mean giving up your coffee entirely. It just means setting a gentle boundary, a coffee cutoff time. Experts recommend stopping caffeine intake by 9:30 a.m. or at least 6 to 8 hours before your intended bedtime. This allows the brain to slowly reduce cortisol and shift into its natural recovery mode. June tried it. She still enjoyed her first cup at sunrise and maybe even a second while reading. But by 9:30 she switched to herbal tea or warm water with lemon. Something comforting but caffeine-free. The results were subtle at first, slightly deeper sleep, fewer 3 a.m. wake-ups. But after a couple of weeks, she noticed something more profound. She no longer needed coffee to feel awake. Her brain was starting to reset its rhythm. This shift didn't take away her joy, it returned her balance. For many older adults, coffee has become more than a habit. It's a way to feel in control, to hold on to something stable. But too much of a good thing, even something warm and familiar, can take a toll when stretched too far. The body needs cycles, rises and falls, time to engage and time to restore. So if you find yourself sipping all morning long, ask yourself gently, am I fueling my focus or just fighting my fatigue? You don't need to stop loving coffee. Just learn where to stop the flow. Hey, I know some of these habits might feel familiar. You've done them for years, maybe decades, just trying to feel more awake, more steady. But sometimes it's not age, it's just a pattern no one told us to rethink. If something in this video gave you a little aha moment, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, drop a 0. I'd still love to hear from you. And if you know someone who's never far from their coffee mug, maybe share this with them. Here's to clearer mornings and gentler habits that work with your brain, not against it.